we have.
Yeah, you should have.
I'll find it. You definitely will something. Yeah.
I'm-
Thumbs up, is that? I mean, lights, camera, action. I'll go with the. Is there anyone have a public comment? I'll do that. Let's take that away now. Yeah. They will call this meeting of the Jamestown City Council Monday, April 7th work session to order. The clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Shelton?
Here.
Rackman? Here. Peter
Here.
Reynolds? Faulkner?
Here.
Monfiglio?
Here.
DeVersa?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
President Brooks?
Here, thank you. We'll give anybody here from the public a chance to speak first before our presentations, or anybody here from the public. I don't- Pat, did you have anything? Nope, it's good. Seeing none, we'll move on. We do have presentations. Some of the members from the DPU are here. I know that Becky and Alan passed out some visuals for us, and Dave's here to answer some questions. And so Dave, the floor is yours if you have any you want to present, and we'll open up to questions.
Okay, I just think this is a regular update, so I'll go over project-related updates and talk a little bit about intermunicipal agreements that may be coming council's way in the coming months. We've got some rate items that I can talk about, but I think we'll start out with Ellen.
Good evening, and thank you very much for having us here tonight. I passed out a couple of flyers for you, and I wanted to concentrate on those two items for part of this discussion. The Developers Forum is going to be coming up April 30th. The City of Jamestown is a co-sponsor of that, thanks to Crystal and Eiley, the development directors, and economic development coordinator, and the mayor. We're looking forward to having probably about 65 people, many of them from out of town. And they're a mix of developers, commercial bankers, those who have an interest in both housing. We're looking specifically at infill housing as one of the projects that we'd like to do here in Jamestown. And the other is to take some of our historic buildings, those specifically in the downtown area, and make those into adaptive reuse. So they could be commercial and housing, commercial, and some other retail. But what we're looking to do is to take some of the buildings that you all know have been vacant or underutilized and to try to get those back on the tax rolls and also to make them look a lot better in the city. So part of what we're going to do that day is to take these people on either walking tours or trolley tours. The trolley tours are really based for the neighborhoods that we want to take them to, so I'm going to go through those so that you know where we might be. We're going to go over on Savannah Avenue near Roseland Park. Crystal's better at all of these than I am in terms of telling you which spots of land, but there's some land there that could be developed into a nice little neighborhood. On Spring Street, there's been a lot of conversation over the years about parts of Spring Street. On Fulton Street, Fulton has been one of those neighborhoods that we think would be in need of being revitalized quickly. Vega Street, Eagle Street, Johnson Street. Johnson was one I hadn't been on in a long time, so it was really interesting to go up there and see the potential, and Cross Street. So if you know anything about those neighborhoods, you know most of them need help. Some of them have had a number of homes that have been demolished or need to be demolished, and we'd like to look at the possibility of some housing. Our other focus is going to be on some buildings downtown, and we will take people interested in that kind of development on a walking tour. So we'll look at the Willow Bay building. As you know, that's been for sale for some time. The bank buildings, the old Key Bank, the old Marine Midland. We're going to look at the Worsted Mills building down on First Street because that's got some potential again for mixed use. The Blackstone Nay building, all of you know what's happened with Blackstone Nay. That is going to be in our Chattacoin redevelopment area, so there's some real possibilities for that. The Mayflower building, and then the Furniture Mart, which stands as, again, a great historic building but needs a lot of work. And it's really great. It would be wonderful if we could do some mixed use in there. So, again, we're going to have a half a day where we'll be at Wicked Warrens. People can see that redevelopment project, then we're going to take them around and show them the parts of the city that we think they could The Department of State will be there, we're gonna have ESD officials there. We also have a number of developers who have signed up, so we're pretty encouraging.
What day is the 30th?
It's a Tuesday, Wednesday, sorry, the 30th of April. It's here, on here,
It's on the backside.
the yellow side, the back side will give you all the details.
All right, gotcha.
And then the other piece that I wanted to share with you is our Retool conference, Retool 25. That's going to be coming up June 3rd. This will be our fourth conference for the BPU. The first conference was paid for through our NYSERDA grant that we had. But since then, we've been able to get enough sponsors and interest to continue to have those. And it's really important because it's helped us try to bring in companies who are interested in relocating, having a second site. This year, we've been trying to concentrate specifically on Canadian companies because of Electrovaya coming into the region. Some of their suppliers are looking to get into a close proximity of their main plant. So we're going to be doing some exciting things. We've got speakers talking about sustainability. Whether you're a small manufacturer or a large one, you need to know that's very important to your bottom line. We're going to be looking at energy efficiency. Again, important for our manufacturers. Many of them are in old buildings, not very energy efficient. There's lots of things they can do to make that better. And then thirdly, we're going to be talking about energy innovation. How can we, again, look at ways that we can bring in companies, commercial entities who are doing some really neat things. And that's going to be June 3rd, all day, 8 to 4:30. If you're interested in stopping by for any of it, please do. Questions? Again, thank you so much to the city for the support you've given us. That's been very important.
Thank you.
Jackie Robbins has a couple of updates.
Okay, I've got kind of the nuts and bolts type of thing. On the Yardway site, we just wanted to remind you, open this Saturday for the season. The hours are 7 to 1. On Saturdays and Wednesdays begin May 7th. You need a 2025 Yardway sticker, bright yellow this year, and it must be affixed to the back window, the driver's side window to get into the site. Spring water main flushing begins overnight in Faulkner at 8 o'clock on Saturday, April 26th. And the rest of the territory will be flushed Monday, April 28th to Friday, May 2nd, beginning at 8 in the morning, except Wednesday, April 30th, that's when we start at 4 in the morning so we can get through downtown and out Fairmont Avenue before restaurants are serving lunch. Then we're back to 8 a.m. hours from May 5th to the 7th. And anybody whose phone number is up to date on their account will receive a robocall. Those are already recorded, telling them what day they can expect to be flushed in their area. Maps are in our April customer newsletters that I put out and around the community as well. And it's on our website homepage under the spotlights, which is about midway down the homepage. And the poster will be posted on April 19th. And then every year, I think you're aware that the BPU operates a fundraising campaign for the St. Susan Center. And that's where we distribute the bright yellow coin canisters around the area. And this year, there's going to be a QR code on the label, so people can more easily give online that way. Otherwise, they can write checks to the St. Susan Center and mail them to the BPU with payments. And we're asking again to have redeemable containers brought into customer service or to Don's Car Wash or the Southside Redemption Center on Fifth Avenue. And while we're inviting people to events, we're having a hot dog sale for St. Susan Center on June 20th in front of customer service. That's all, thank you.
Thanks, Beck.
They're not charging this year for the waste? Did I read somewhere that they were thinking of charging?
We were looking
Did I
into
make
that.
that up?
No, you weren't making that up. We were looking out 2026, 2027, if that was something that should be considered or not. So no decision has been made on that, which means for 2025, there's no charge to residential solid waste customers. also have with us Brad Albright. Brad is our safety compliance administrator. Brad does not have any items to present. He's interested in council and how the meetings go in case he comes in the future, so appreciate him in attendance. I'll go through the updates, and then if there's other items or any questions, concerns that council members have, be happy to take them. For project-related updates, our DOE Jamestown Community Microgrid Project continues. We've been through what we think is the pause on funding for that, and are pretty confident, I would say very confident, that that looks like it's going forward. We've made some initial orders on underground equipment when we start the undergrounding, and we're working on our owner's engineer request for proposal process, so that's in the works as well. So that's been progressing slowly behind the scenes the first few months of the year, but that's a major project. It's a 4 to 5 year project that is moving forward and has time spent on that. You'll hear more about that in the coming months. District heating, we're working on the current system as well as we're looking at retool district heating as a future project. So quite a bit of activity on leak identification in the system, targeting leak repair areas as we head into the later spring, summer months. That's the time when we can take the system down and make fixes. We did put dye in the system a week ago, just to see if any customer buildings had issues related to leaks on their side of the system, and that went really well, actually. We had a couple of incidents that we investigated, but I would say nothing major, and that's really good news. That means that all of our customers are taken care of, their heat exchangers and their side of the system. On the retool district heating front, we are hopeful that there will be a $19 million award for a retool district heating project out of New York State budget. We'll see if that happens in the coming week or weeks. We've partnered with a collaboration of building decarbonization groups, workforce development groups, environmental groups, labor groups that are all interested in supporting thermal energy network systems. Many of those projects that they support are on SUNY campuses, but they also have included the Jamestown BPU Retool District Heating Project on their list for the state to progress to try to decarbonize buildings more than one at a time, but in kind of a centralized supported system. So more to follow on that. The new Casadega Pump House Station, so kind of out North Work Street outside of Faulkner is where our Casadega well field is. That pump house station down there is extremely old. So we're investigating a project to rebuild a new pump house station, new storage tank, and potentially new transmission mains that go out of that site. So there's a 24-inch main that runs south to 394, and then there's an 18-inch main that goes out to 380 and then runs towards Faulkner from there. So it's a high-cost project. You should see a bonding resolution in front of City Council, either at the April meeting or the May meeting. That bonding resolution is in support of a grant application that we intend to submit on May 30th. So the bonding resolution doesn't mean the project is going forward. The bonding resolution helps us seek grant funding to hopefully make that project more financially affordable. So that's one bonding resolution is related to the Casadega Pump House Station. Other bonding resolution is for water and wastewater divisions to borrow money. For the water division, it's to help fund our portion of the fueling station, so the new fueling station down on Harrison Street, behind our pole yard. A lot of work has gone into that. We've off the New York State contract. I think we've got a finalized design, finalized costs. Hopefully getting that in front of the BPU board later this month at our board meeting. We also are working on land acquisition. So there's this agreement between the Board of Education, the city, and the county related to the firemen's training facilities and training grounds down there in that property. Kind of in parallel to getting the fueling station design and going forward, we're working on what new agreements need to be in place for the property. So we anticipate all that to progress throughout the summer, with construction probably in the latter part of Q3 this year. The other side of the borrowing is wastewater, there's sand filter, rebuild projects, in our wastewater treatment plant. So the borrowing is $750,000 out of water to support the fueling station project. I think the overall cost, is, over $1.1 million. And $900,000 for the wastewater borrowing, but we're trying to finalize that. And hopefully that resolution will be in front of you, as well. Any questions on those? Separately, we're doing a study on water system expansion. So last year was an interesting time period where we had several towns come to us and ask about water. Some with water agreements, some that don't have water agreements yet. The Bus is looking to expand. Hyantone and Carroll came to us. Frewsburg has their own system, but that system is struggling, so they asked about water outside of Jamestown to Hyantone into Frewsburg or the town of Carroll. The town of Ellicott was looking to expand west on Fluvanna Avenue towards the town of Ellery. And North Harmony and the town of Chautauqua have also been asking about water expansion. So we decided to pursue NYSERDA Flex Tech study money to do an analysis to say if all these towns were on water and if we are going to try to position ourselves to do that, let's not look at them as independent towns. Let's look at them as, do we have enough water, and how would we do that to support multiple expansions? So that's in its early stages right now, but I think it's going to be a really important study. What we're talking about there is also being incorporated into the new Casadega pump house station, so that if that needs more capacity, we've already built that into the design. But it's not just water, it's storage tanks, it's pump stations, it's facilities, it's equipment, it's staffing. You know, the farther that we get outside of the city, you know, we have one group basically out of the Buffalo Street facility that's supporting a pretty expansive system right now. And so that study's ongoing. You should hear more about that in the next 6 months or so. Wastewater sewer shed number 7, inflow and infiltration reduction. There's an engineering planning grant. We're working through that process. There's been data taken on manholes. There's been engineering modeling done, and we're also doing home inspections in that area. I think we've targeted 300 homes to inspect and have already been through 200 of them. A lot of questions, but that's just to go in, it's a 15-minute view just to make sure that there's no illegal connections. A lot of the sewer surge issues that are occurring in that west side area are when it rains. And so that tells you that rainwater, instead of going to the storm system, is going to the sanitary sewer system, right? And those need to be corrected. If we can correct those, then we don't need to spend millions of dollars on sewer mains, right? The problem goes away. And so a lot of work being done there, and I think that's progressing pretty well. Also, in the early stages of the community fiber project, we're doing make-ready work on our side, getting the poles, the lines, the space available to progress that build out, probably starting this summer sometime. So working through that as well. Intermunicipal agreement updates. I did talk about North Harmony and Chautauqua. That's a to be determined issue. We have an intermunicipal agreement with North Harmony already. That's a border-to-border agreement. But if we go beyond North Harmony into the town of Chautauqua, we'll need to pursue an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Chautauqua. I think the county is trying to look at how can they support a water project being done up that side of the lake. So I think still kind of premature, but you may hear something about that. Also have on our list of things to do in Q2 and Q3 this year is to try to get a water agreement with the village of Celeron. For a long period of time, the village of Celeron and the village of Faulkner did not have water in municipal agreements. They just date back decades when we provided water at the 150% rate. So as you know, we updated Faulkner wastewater and Faulkner water, you know, a year and a half ago maybe. So now we're going to work with Celeron and see if we can get a document of water agreement with them. It's kind of the last one that's on our list. And then also we've been working with county representatives. The DPU and the county, with approval of City Council, have had a leachate agreement with the county. So that's a wastewater agreement where leachate from the landfill is piped through county-owned pipes into the Ellicott system and ultimately to our wastewater treatment plant. That was a 20-year agreement from 2005 to this summer. We've been working probably the last 15 months with the county to get a new agreement with new terms. So ultimately, if we can get that done in the next 2 to 3 months, then that will go to the DPU board and ultimately land at city council. We're looking at a new 20-year agreement with them on that. BPU rate information, much of the update is on electric. So probably 3 things on electric rates right now. One is the New York Power Authority hydropower rate increase process. That started mid last year behind the scenes, and it culminated in a public notice Christmas Eve that NYPA was going to pursue a very significant increase in hydropower rates. We went through a process of challenging that and pushing back and asking questions through our state association. Ultimately, as of mid-February, that process was stopped. Part of why that was stopped was a request from the governor that rate increase seemed excessive and should be stopped. We think that NYPA's been working since mid-February to figure out how to reintroduce that in the coming months. So just because that process came up, was discussed, was reviewed, and then stopped, doesn't mean it won't come back. So I anticipate in 2025 that NYPA is going to come out and maybe again talk to the municipal and co-op systems in the state related to what they're thinking related to a rate increase before they bring it public again through that notice of proposed rulemaking process, which includes a 60-day comment period. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe Q3, Q4 this year that rate increase is back on the table, and we'll have to work through that. Separately, the fuel adjustment charge is on your electric bills, so that's the very low rate in our electric rates. That fuel adjustment charge is different every month. That fuel adjustment charge has been increasing over the last year and a half or so. Typically, many years ago, we would talk about a 3-cent fuel adjustment charge and a 4-cent fixed rate for a 7-cent residential rate per kilowatt hour. That fuel adjustment charge, instead of being 2.5 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour, has been 3 to 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour or more, and it's anticipated that will go even higher. The reason it would go higher is the NYPA hydropower rate is in there, National Grid transmission service charges are in there, and state charges related to renewable energy credits and zero emission credits are in there. One thing that's good related to the fuel adjustment charge in January and February, it was very low. Why was it very low in January and February? It was low because we were running our power plant. So when we're generating power, it's really cold outside. The New York ISO, the price of electricity on the grid is very expensive. All the other mini electric utilities in the state have to go buy more power, and they buy that at a higher price. So typically, other municipal utilities that get hydropower that need to buy extra electricity, their rates are the highest in the year in a 12-month period when it's super cold outside, natural gas spikes, and electric prices spike. Ours were the lowest that they've been in the last 12 months because the power plant, when they're generating, right, protects and stabilizes our rates. The view forward on the fuel adjustment charge is probably increasing because National Grid's charges are going up, New York ISO charges are going up, NYPA I talked about, and then the state charges related to the Clean Energy Standard and the CLCPA. So, we do the best we can. Those are decisions that are made outside of our utility and outside of Jamestown, but we spend quite a bit of time trying to protect our customers, and we've done a good job to date. Kind of on the horizon, those rates will go up. Lastly, related to electric, we have a basic service charge, and then we have a fixed rate. Our fixed rate is something where we can go and increase that rate. We haven't done that since March of 2016. So the 2 increases that we've had in our fixed rate, one was in August of 2010, and it was 2.33%. The other one was in March of 2016, and that was 1.69%. So it's likely that we will go back to the Public Service Commission sometime this year and seek a slight increase in our fixed charge for electric rates. So more to follow on that. We're more in the investigative stages right now, but going 9 years without a rate increase at all on that fixed rate has been really good for us. And then lastly, staff recommended, put in our budget, and our board approved a 4% water rate increase effective January 1st. So out of our 5 divisions, district heating had a rate increase for 2025, and water, and those were the only 2. Unfortunately, our billing, we did not update properly, and we didn't bill the higher rate. We billed the regular rate from 2024 in January, February, and March. We identified that probably 2 weeks ago, and our April bills will go out with recovery of that difference between the 2024 rate and what should be the 2025 rate. For residential customers that are typical users of 6 units of water, between a basic service charge difference and a consumption charge difference for those 3 months, it's probably $2. Not overly significant. We don't like to make mistakes like that. We're correcting that, and the billing should be fine going forward, but I just make you aware of that. There is comments on the front of the bill for April that explain why there's miscellaneous charges on the back of the bill. We've also looked at our commercial and industrial customers that are high water users. Their bill impact is going to be more, so we've got letters that have gone out to them, and we're making phone calls to the top users as well. So hopefully, if you hear any questions or have complaints, like just come to me related to April water billing. And that's it. Any items from your side?
Those 200 houses that you've already gone through, how many of them had water going into your sanitary? You know offhand?
Roughly 20 to 25% had illegal connections identified, and they're going to have to do something different. And 15 to 20% need more investigation to see if truly there is an issue or not. So 40% either illegal or need more information.
So you got 100 left, let's just say, out of those 140 of them, is that gonna be enough to make a difference so that areas
Absolutely.
get flooded?
Yeah, it's surprising.
Cause I've seen,
7 to 10 houses, depending if it's like full house gutters, yard drains, sump pump, if it's multiple things, but 7 to 10 houses can make a big difference, for sure. So, having that many is
Right.
meaningful.
thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? It's quite a list, a lot of work. We get a chance to hear that like 3 times.
Thanks all.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll move on. Housing, Billy? You got it?
Becky. Dave, thank you. Thank you, Ellen.
See you guys. Thank you.
Okay, housing, nobody from the public spoke. Crystal started off presenting a challenge to go back to the drawing board with what happened a week ago, or last month, we should say. And Jeff sent an email out asking that there be some, data collected, some forward-looking initiatives, what maybe we could glean from DOD in response to spending that $640,000. She went on to say that she came up with a program that will support some homeowners, hopefully. And Jane Potter of the DOD office is handling 24 different projects, but with 140,000 dedicated to home rehab. Crystal seems to think, and Casey too, seems to think that 2 or 3 more homes could, get rehabbed. She mentioned that an extension wasn't necessary at this point in time, and that the, remaining money, the 500,000, go to a home redevelopment, infill development program, which you all received, hopefully to look it over and, telling us what and how that's gonna be unfolding. So the money could stay and hopefully not get, clawed back. There was a timetable mentioned regarding, May 15th for up to public comment, and then a public hearing, and then, moving forward, you okay?
Yeah.
Moving forward with, regional HUD office being involved. They also mentioned the developers forum that Ellen spoke of, and that the timetable pretty much continued with, if everything went according to plan, that the June RFP could be let for different projects. We vote on in August for the program, and then anything of substance would go to zoning and planning to get approvals. And was asked about BPU helping out for a total electric project, and they were gonna look into that to see if there was potential for any help from BPU to do the electric. But all in all, if you read through this handout, it pretty much explains everything, and thank you for putting that together, Crystal and Casey. Did I miss anything here, Laura?
No, just, our annual action plan, and consolidated plan are still, in process, and the due dates have been pushed back a bit, pending that May 15th, formula announcement from HUD. So we'll share opportunities for public engagement, for both of those things as soon as we know.
Thank you, that was it.
Any other questions? Matt, we'll move on to Brent.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 3 resolutions tonight. The first is, City of Jamestown, in conjunction with the Jamestown BPU and Collaborative Children's Services. An opportunity to highlight the city, the studio production of Reform with Dennis Quaid, and broadcasting major networks, including CNBC, MSNBC, and the Fox Business Network. For broadcasting 84 million homes. There's a cost associated with this of $30,000. This will be in conjunction with BPU and Children's Collaborative Services. And Mr. Smeraldo is here from Children's Collaborative Services to talk about this and answer any questions that you might have.
I don't have any questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Did they come to us, or did we reach out to them?
Mayor, they came to us.
They came to us, it was a blind phone call, but what I can tell you is, I asked how they received the city's name, and I was advised that they have a research team that goes out and looks into things, so whether our name was on a newspaper article, a magazine, or wherever they did it, the research team presents a list of cities for them to reach out to, and we were one of them.
So they would be producing this?
Mm-hmm.
And that 30,000 is the total
That is the total.
for the
That's total,
3
yeah,
entities.
It's not to exceed that.
Why is it appropriated to the BPU?
No, they're a partner in
They're a
it.
partner.
So it is to showcase why Jamestown is a place to live, work, and start a business or grow your business. So with the cheap energy and the utility of the BPU, they're a very valid partner in that, and they have agreed to commit financially, as has Pat and his organization, and we are still in the process of another organization that's vital, I think, so.
So you didn't spearhead this, you actually just
No,
wanted,
I just,
you just wanna,
to be honest with you, I mean, just I spoke in finance about it. First of all, we have CCS TV, I mean, the kids' TV program show. Last year, I can tell you right now, we did 159,000 views just locally on the Roku channel. We have a couple of apps, Facebook, things like that. In 3 months, we're at 175,000 views. We've already eclipsed that. So even though it's disappointing that I'd like to see kids read more, but obviously video resonates. It's permanent. We can utilize it. We have the ability to, and I've said it on the call, we have the ability to highlight what we want versus a news crew showing up and just filming things. I think the two gentlemen in the corner would appreciate that. I mean, we have the ability to show the positives of the city, which is great. It can be reused time in and time again. Any business that were to come here, we can then take that video and share it with the business to highlight the area. Nothing's been decided on what to show them yet, but yeah, I think it's and I apologize to, I was sitting next to Julia and I didn't mean to say anything about radio, but advertising's really, really expensive, like really expensive, whether it's print, radio, or what have you. That's just because of what the costs, employment costs, things like that have all risen up. I think $30,000 to try to get to 84 million homes is a real bargain.
So we would retain the intellectual property with this?
Yeah, we own it. That's what, I mean, that's the magic of it too, I would think, Councilman Russell, is like when we do something, or the kids do something, if someone advertises it, we give them the link as well, so then they're able to use it on their website, share it with their customers, and do everything. So it's not better than clipping something out and sending it to someone, but similar to what Julie does with radio. She sends me a show after we do it, and then I can share it with potential parents and whoever, same thing.
So your not-for-profit is kicking in 10,000, the city's
There may be another partner.
There may be another partner, yeah, it'll be shared amongst
So would
us.
that lower all the other threes, you're
Yeah.
saying,
Mhm.
by another part?
Pat's, the reason these two in particular, and we'll advise you as we get closer to the end of the month with the other party. Pat's committed financially already, the BPU has committed financially already of 5,000 each. So we're at 10,000, and then we're hoping to split the other two.
Where is our money coming from, the city, when I say this? Is it a line item that's already budgeted for something, or where are we
Yeah,
pulling this money from?
yeah, Erica?
I'm looking at everybody's
So
spending.
it's coming from like my travel, my line, some of it, cause I'm not gonna be traveling, so kind of a little bit here and there.
Here
There's
in
some
finance.
subscriptions that were budgeted and they've come in under, so I think I can make up the number with a little bit here and there with some underspending. That's already happened so far this year.
You're good, thank you.
Okay, that was approved by our, the next resolution, Kathy Archer, the Full Strength Coffee Company, is gifting the city of Jamestown Police Department $200.00 for use by private crossroads. Jamestown City Council here extends its appreciation and gratitude on behalf of the citizens of the city of Jamestown, Kathy Archer, and employees of Full Strength Coffee Company. That was approved. And finally, resolution, that the city comptroller is authorized to make the following amendment to the 2024 general fund budget. Recognize additional consolidated local street and highway improvement program, CHIP funds, pave New York, state touring route, pave our potholes, and extreme winter recovery funding as follows: increase appropriations, just capital outlay, $802,800.69. Increase estimated revenues, state highway aid, $800,800.3501, $802,800.69. Balance the budget, receive more money from the state for our roads, appreciate it.
So I went from 1.5
5 to about 2.2.
almost 2.4. million, just good news, more money for the roads. Construction.
That was approved by our committee. That's all we had from finance.
Did you want to mention the?
Mayor's gonna do it.
Oh, you are, okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. Jeff, safety?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have the same resolution for the donation from the coffee company for $200. And I'll just add in here, their vision, I pulled up some information on them. They're obviously Main Street in Westfield. Their vision, each member of our family works to create the vision for our coffee shop and play a role in its renovation. Our hope was for it to be an inclusive place for all, whether you would like to come in and relax, read a book over a cup of coffee, chat with a friend, meet for lunch, or do work at our beautiful black walnut window bar complete with USB ports and outlets. So we do thank the Full Strength Coffee Company and Kathy Archer for their donation for a worthy cause of Project Crossroads that deals with domestic violence in our city. So that passed. And the next two were for the local laws. And if you don't mind, I'd like to skip ahead and go through our special events, because I'm assuming there's probably gonna be a lot of discussion, or some discussion on these local laws, if you're okay with that, Mr. President.
Remember where you wanted to?
Okay. So the first special event is for the Memorial Day Parade to be held on Monday, May 26, 2025, from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m., including setup and tear down. Parade route begins at Baker Park and concludes at Lakeview Cemetery. And that did pass. The second special event is at St. James Italian Festival and be held on Saturday, July 12, 2025, from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m., including setup and tear down on the corner of Allen and Institute Street. That's obviously an annual event too, and that passed. The next special event was World Series of Wheels to be held on Saturday, July 26, 2025, with a rain date of Sunday, July 27, 2025, from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m., including setup and tear down at Bergman Park. Obviously, that benefits the Babe Ruth World Series, which our mayor is heavily involved in, and we much appreciate that. Her and her husband, Keith, do a great justice of that. And the other thing, the other two that we had were the local law authorizing a property tax levy in the excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law 3C, being enacted by the City Council of the City of Jamestown, New York, as follows. I don't know if you want me to read the whole thing. If not needed, we all have it in front of us. We did table this because we wanted, obviously, any discussion or comments with the full council. So if there's anyone that has any questions or comments regarding this, you're free to jump in.
Still, the comment I would make is that, we've done this in the past, usually later in the year, but during the budget season, again, even if this law is passed, we don't have to utilize it.
Correct.
Right, it's just a protection. We did it last year, we've done it several years, but if we get to the budget season and there's no need to utilize it, then we don't have to. It doesn't lock us into anything, it just gives us that option if we have to use that. And again, given last year's budget, and, possible anticipation of a difficult budget, excuse me, again, it will just give us that option. We can decide when and if we wanna do that. Read it, think about it.
Mr. President, have you heard anything on that, we just asked Erica, on that 1.3 million? That wasn't,
I'm still getting some clarity on some of the details, so.
The answer is yes and no.
okay.
And those are things that obviously.
We're still trying is what I
Oh,
want to
yeah,
ask.
oh, yeah.
As long as we're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
trying, I'm happy.
Yes, we are.
So wanna proceed with that, and whichever way, you would have to go through the committee first, and then, you know, but, and it would be obviously, when it goes through the committee, it's approved, put on the agenda, it'll be read, it'll be automatically tabled for 30 days, and we'll go down the road after that.
Is this different than the 2% override?
No, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's the same thing, right? I didn't see the actual word. Do you want us to vote as a committee now to move it on?
That's, I don't,
We still,
No, we didn't.
they table it in the
To
committee
this meeting.
To this meeting, so everyone.
for this meeting, I mean, you can do it the next meeting, it's up to you guys, however you want.
I'm for it.
So, public safety committee members, we have a motion.
I move that we establish local law number 1 of 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
So that means it'll be on the agenda to be read and then tabled for the April meeting, voted on in May.
The second local law, number 2 of 2025, brought before us by Mr. Reynolds, is a local law eliminating the residency requirements for appointed officers of the city of Jamestown, be enacted by the city council of the city of Jamestown. Do you want me to read this or no?
If you can do, you can read it or paraphrase it however you wanna.
In section B, there was a change, and I'll read that in its entirety.
That's fine.
No person shall be appointed to any city office unless he or she is qualified pursuant to law or civil service for a position and resident of Chautauqua or an adjoining New York State county. Preference for such appointment shall be given to city residents. And then, there's a redacted part out of there, that states, a resident of the city or to any district or ward office unless he or she is a resident of the district or ward for which he or she is appointed. Exception shall be made subject to provisions of the municipal home rule law when any appointed officer shall cease to be a resident of the city of Jamestown or whenever any appointed ward or district officer shall cease to be a resident of the ward of the district for which he or she was appointed, his or her office shall become vacant. So what, Mr. Reynolds is, requesting through this local law change is that section be eliminated, and correct me if I'm wrong, that department heads would be allowed to live outside the city of Jamestown.
Or an adjoining county. It's similar to civil service language in public officers, chapter 3. I started looking into this because we heard that we might have some retirements coming up for department heads. And going through the list, there's 11 appointed officials that would be considered under this law currently. As we know, a fire chief is retiring, and that would probably be the first one. So I started digging a little more into informal attorney general rulings on how different municipalities across the state handle certain situations where they can't find the right person to take that position, any position of those 11, where they weren't able to find anybody living in the city. So they would utilize two things. They utilize municipal home rule, like you all might remember the Jeff Lehman deal, and or they would have a charter change. And in my conversations with NICOM's general counsel, John Mancini, who I've met a couple of different times, this first happened to me as a town supervisor many years ago, not able to find a town attorney that was capable of living in town. So I had some familiarity with it, but with these 11 positions and the likelihood of maybe not having the best qualified person living in the city, this gives the administration, I believe, some latitude in having, the right candidate, if you would, or the most qualified candidate be allowed to be, appointed. Again, it might, for what's happening right now, we might not need this local law, but as time goes on, it behooves us to be able to get a wider and a broader breadth of solid candidates for these positions. That's the logic behind the change for the local law, and instead of doing municipal home rule law every position as it comes up, which has to be done and given to the state legislature before they go on vacation every year, if we have that opportunity to appoint somebody, or the mayor does. So I'm just asking we didn't vote on it tonight, obviously, because I think you all wanted to hear my take on it. There's a lot of people that say you gotta live in the city, you gotta set an example, but as you read in the Post-Journal, we're losing population quicker than we are getting new businesses, high-paying income jobs and homes in the city. Not trying to paint a black, dark cloud over our city, but things need to change, and if we can have the right qualified people in positions of authority, so to speak, with their departments, if they have to, drive a half a mile, or if they have to drive 10, there's several non-appointed officials, I should say, that live outside the city, and they make the trip in, you love the city or you don't, and I just think we're shorting ourselves if we don't expand the geographical residency requirement to what civil service uses in all likelihood. The county you live in and the adjoining counties of that county, which is Erie and Cattaraugus County. So it's food for thought. I'd certainly entertain any amendments or changes or input from Corporation Council and other council people, so.
Elliot, can you explain the home rule, how that process, I guess my first initial take on it is, we already have the ability to appoint from outside the city under home rule?
We do under a case-by-case basis.
Under case by case. So basically, it would just be, the mayor would make that recommendation to the council, and the council would then
We have to vote on it.
vote on it.
And then send it to the state legislature.
Possibly, yes. Depends on each position. There's already carve-outs, public officers law 3.
Which, do you know which ones would have to be sent to the state? Do you know,
Off the top of my head, I do know the C clerk would have to be under our carve-out specifically for police chiefs and attorneys.
So as it stands now, the mayor does, obviously she appoints all the department heads. She does have the ability to choose someone that is not residing in the city and is going to stay not residing in the city, but we would have to vote on it, is what you're saying.
It would be subject to the council mayor approving that. The default rule under our charter is that residencies require department decisions.
so that's what we're basically talking about. I was kind of confused when it said about the whole district or ward doesn't
Well,
include.
all elected officials have to reside in the
Right,
city.
gotcha, that's crossed out under this.
It segregates, because section A isn't on the paper before you. There's section A applies
Okay,
to
Gotcha.
elected.
I got a little nervous there, because if you move out to Bust-I, you can still be,
No, that's not the.
Okay, just wanna make sure. I guess my suggestion too, and this is always, the discussion has come up many times about residency requirements, not only for employees, but obviously department heads. There's people who have strong feelings about it. I certainly understand that, it's a challenge sometimes, particularly with some of the department heads who require certain titles certain qualifications, licensing, and that does become a challenge, but, you know, I also, I'm leery about, I wanna look at, is there another way to word it to protect the integrity of the whole idea of having these rather large salaries compared to other city employees, be giving them the opportunity to not be residents of the city of Jamestown. And you know, I have strong feelings about that as a resident, and a taxpayer, that you're gonna pay a police chief, a fire chief, or any of the other department heads a pretty decent salary, in many cases six figures, or more, you know, six figures at least, and you know, we want them to live in the city of Jamestown, we want them to invest in the city of Jamestown, we want them to have their families live here, go to church here, go to school here, have their kids go and be part of our community. So I'm not opposed to looking at some alternatives or to some changes to some degree, but what I don't wanna see is 5 or 6 years down the road, 11 department heads living outside the city of Jamestown and over $1 million worth of salaries, not paying taxes for our citizens, for our community. That's just my
Yeah,
personal.
one other qualification was if they live outside the city and Madam Mayor appoints them, there is a lot of time for them to sell their house, move
Right.
their kids, and, you know, he didn't put a timetable on it. It's not 1 or 2 months, it could be however long it takes to sell a house or to move physically here from another part of the state.
I mean, again, my suggestion would be, look it over, you know, talk to Elliot, talk it over with you amongst yourselves, talk to the mayor, whatever. You know, I don't think there's an urgency to
No.
change this, but it's a start of a dialogue or a conversation that maybe we come up with a compromise or a better product than we currently have, or maybe we find out that what we currently have is the best product, so.
I have one comment to Bill, just hypothetically. What if there were no qualified candidates that came forth for any given position? So, the city does a nationwide search for such position. At that point, do we force a candidate upon hiring to buy a home in the city? Or do you let them buy it anywhere they like within the county or adjacent counties? It's a hypothetical, of course, but we're trying to promote people living and growing our community, and there is a possibility, an outside possibility of, as Tony said, all of those positions going away and going to non-tax-paying residents.
I think that becomes a negotiating point that the mayor has.
Not if this is your rule.
Well, if they lived outside of the 3 counties, you'd have to do a municipal home rule to allow somebody from California or somebody from Pennsylvania.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I can't negotiate that if that's part of a local law, me or whoever the mayor is.
Well, there would still be,
If there's not a candidate.
there would still be a requirement that they live within,
But if they choose to live 2 hours away in Erie County, that's acceptable on this.
yes.
So it depends on their qualification.
I had a quick legal question.
And what's the
Wouldn't
position?
we be violating by allowing this on our city charter? When you said that the mayor still had the option now to allow them to live outside the city and that it had to come before a council, aren't we violating the charter by doing that?
Well, this is a charter change.
It's in the charter that way.
It's currently in there, under home rule.
I'm just gonna preface this statement by, when Bill reached out to me to talk about this, I think it's important to always have dialogue. So I was obviously willing to talk to Bill about this. I think it's very important that we discuss things. I've always advocated and been very strong on, I would like to see the police officers and the firefighters living in the city. I chose to live in the city because I felt that it makes me more vested in the community. I care more about the neighborhoods when I'm here. You know, I care if there's a meth house, you know, at a house somewhere that's disturbing things. When I was working at the police department, it was sometimes discouraging to see people every other Friday take their check and drive to Westfield or Fredonia or Dunkirk or wherever, It was even equal, or more disturbing when some of those people, say they were on a civil service list, they were in the top 3. One of the people in the top 3 might be a Jamestown resident who's living in the city. They don't get the promotion, but the guy from Westfield gets it. So now he's making even more money and driving outside the city. I do share some of the concerns that Bill does though, and that's why I wanted to have this dialogue about the talent that's out there. And like, what are we going to do, let's just say for the fire chief spot, if we can't find anyone that's willing, that's qualified and willing to move into the city, you know, then we start playing this acting game, you know, acting fire chief, acting police chief, or we fall into the shell game that we did with a former director of public safety who happened to own a lot of rental properties in the city, and he parked his police car in the driveway of his apartment building to make it look like he was there, and then drove out to his big beautiful house in the town of Ellery and played this little sneaky game that went on. I don't want to see that happen either. So I don't want to see a bunch of acting positions because we can't find someone that'll move into the city. I don't want to see people renting an apartment, P.O. box, whatever, to make it appear that they're living in the city when they have a house outside the city that they go to and where they're actually residing. So, you know, I understand Bill's concerns, but I'll reiterate what I said. I've always been an advocate that police, fire, I'd love to see teachers, I'd like to see everyone living here in the city. That's all.
Well, wouldn't there have to be some language for existing department heads that live outside, Elliot? Wouldn't we have to address that?
This language as written would give carte blanche to department heads living within 3 counties, Chautauqua, Cat Rock, Superior County.
I'll just add in there too, I mean, from the police side of things, there's times that are, you know, there's critical incidents going on. I mean, let's just say an active shooter situation or something, emergencies that are happening right now. And to have like a police chief that's living a half an hour away that needs to respond to a critical incident, and they have to drive a half an hour into the city because they're living somewhere else. That just doesn't work. I mean, they need to be there. I know in the past, the police union negotiated with the city on allowing canine officers to live outside the city. I wasn't really keen on that when that went down, but they negotiated it. A canine officer can basically live, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, 10 miles as a crow flies from this building, but they're still taking, you know, a city vehicle home every night, you know, with the canine in it. So it's been done before, but I just think, especially police, fire, and I'm not in their position, but I think they need to be able to get here in a very timely, fast manner in a critical incident. And if someone's living far away, it's just not gonna work.
So, I mean, my suggestion would be to just think about it, talk among yourselves, ask questions, maybe try to come up, do some research, come up with some other ideas if anybody has any other ideas, and just, again, keep the dialogue going.
I just want to ask the mayor one quick question, I'll be done. You have a lot of heavy lifting to do coming up. You got a lot of department heads coming your way, from the BPU to, you know, eventually police chief, fire chief. Are you confident that you're going to be able to go out and find qualified people? Because the other thing I'm concerned about is that if you can't, say, find another police chief, that you then will be forced to take someone within the ranks who maybe isn't the best pick for the police department at that particular time. So do you feel confident that you're gonna be able to go out, find the best candidate, convince them to move into the city of Jamestown and live here?
So I will tell you, I can't talk to the police chief, we have not advertised that position, cause I don't know when Tim's leaving, but
Sure.
I can talk to Matt's position currently, as you all know, his impending retirement date is May 9th. We have over a dozen probably, applicants. We've received 3 or 4 more this weekend, and today. And clearly in the post, it states, must be a resident of the city. So when people are sending that resume, they are faced with that knowledge that they either A, live here, or B, will have to move here. Again, as mentioned, we will take into consideration the time it takes them to move if they're not from here, or if they live here, so all things considered. The process, which this was part of my mayor's remarks, so you're getting it now, but the process will be that the application for fire chief will be up for probably another week, and the interview process unfortunately probably cannot start until the end of April, because I forgot that it's a holiday week and some people are on vacation. So we will be putting those together. The chief and I have talked. We have I told him I would start sending him the resumes. Obviously in that dozen there's a few of them that aren't qualified, but I will tell you, there are some very qualified candidates, whether they just sent it or whether they sent it with the full intention to interview and come here, we'll find out. But I'm confident that some of them did.
I mean, cause it's very, from what I understand, from what I've been told by reliable sources, that there's only 2 to 3 individuals in Chautauqua County that hold the necessary firefighter 3 training in order to be the new fire chief here in Jamestown.
So they didn't just come from Chautauqua County. We have some across the state, and we have some from PA. We have one from Florida. We have ones from, obviously, in town. So they're from all over.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Anything else, Jeff, from safety?
Did you wanna mention, you want to bring a resolution forward eventually?
Yes, mentioned in our meeting is it's been a big issue over the last year plus. Been doing some research regarding the overpopulation in the deer within the city confines. Most recently, I've been researching what's been going on in Aurora, New York, as far as what they're doing to control it and how they propose it. So I requested a resolution naming the city of Jamestown as a not only public safety issue regarding the deer, but also a public nuisance. So that'll be on the next work session agenda. From that point, we can have a public meeting and discuss some of the options and look at some of the other townships and communities that have instituted that.
That's it.
Randy, do you have anything for?
No, we just had the one resolution that, for the increase for the CHIPS money that we've already discussed. But, we did talk about, East Second Street is, undergoing, the hot mix is being applied because the plant is open. And, I was down there today, looking it over. They have not done the whole stretch yet, but it is being addressed, so the worst holes are being addressed with the hot mix that tends to stay longer than the cold patch that they've done all winter. So we did talk about that, so that is at least underway, so it'll help some for now. And that would be what we discussed.
Okay, so I only have one quick item that was mentioned. It was also mentioned in finance, and I do have 2 things. First of all, thank you, Crystal and Casey, for meeting with me immediately on Tuesday morning to try to come up with an alternate plan and an alternate option for you guys. So thank you very much for your hard work. They will be communicating with you all just to make sure, because like nothing else, they don't want to spend a lot of time on something that's going to ultimately fail. So. But thank you. The other item is I want to thank Erica for her hard work, and Elliot also, and honestly Heather has came in the last minute in DOD to get some paperwork and resolution to the $1 million FRB grant for being vigilant with the FRB team. We have received that, so that is great news. I'll let Erica talk to you about what it took and where we're at. Some very strong communication with the state and with Tim, through Elliott, so, you know, we're still working on the other one. We don't have that answer yet, but I'm positive that they're hearing us, so. I do wanna thank them publicly for that. So if you have any questions about that, just get with Erica. Obviously, you know, the bond anticipation note is part of the $1 million payback, so that's what we're doing, and we may, because we have no capital in this year's budget, and we're concerned about next year, set a portion of it aside for that, should an emergency arise.
That's huge, thank you.
Okay, so, thank you
To be
very
clear,
much.
That's the million for the fleet maintenance building.
Yes, so the insurance is still in limbo, but it's something, so it's great news for us, and I appreciate everybody's hard work on that. And that's it for me.
Anything else? No executive tonight?
No.
All right, welcome. You want to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.